Hello, my peeps. Welcome to some more card making. Today it's Fun Fold Friday, and we are making a flip flap flop card. Now, I saw this card, and I thought, well, that's very cool. There's so many things you could do with that card, and I can't stop making them. I've made 4 of them now, and I had to move on to other projects because I have other things I need to do. But I'm having so much fun with this. So I think I have the right card to show you the original fold that I saw. I just have to look up the name again. The card, so the original card that I saw was is the Riverside Retreat, Waterside Retreat, the cool boat fabric stuff that we have. Suite that we have. And it is Just for the Love of Stamping by Trisha Shalo, I believe might be how her last name is pronounced. Apologies if not. And it just looks like such a fun card. Now, to add to the fun, cutest crew. Love it. I started making it and I was just going to make a whole bunch of cards. In the end, I did. You will be happy to know make cards with different. I'm loving the new in colors. So yes, 2 of the cards are with the in colors, but I do have different suites. So you can see it looking in different ways as well. So this was the starter thing. And if you watched my last video, actually, I don't even know what order these videos are posting in. So if you watched one of my videos, I've come up with the idea I should have a thing that like a video segment each week, just short snippets. Thank you, Steve. Called things I saw on the internet. So I unfortunately do not remember which demo I saw, but one of the demos I saw that said, if you don't like how much white space is around your die cut, here's how you fix it. Now, in this case, because I knew this was going to be white, I put a white border on it, so I would have 2 elements of white, so it didn't just look like this one odd color sticking out there. But look at the difference this makes. When all you have to do is take your die cut and color the background the same color as whatever you're putting it on. Now, this is the same color as a cardstock. This isn't even a solid color. And look at the difference it makes just by coloring the background. I did it. I was like, oh my God, that is the best tip. 10-second tip, world of difference. So now because I had the white, I mean, yes, it still looks fine. But it also, in some cases, whatever color you're using, might be too dark to stamp on. So you can't just stamp on the same color. So you can go back to having your white label, right? Because now you don't have, because this to me, this was a lot of white. But this looks great. And this looks great. Anyways, so this is actually the label off the next card I'm going to show you. So let me just quickly, while you look at the front, this cutest crew bundle, it is not surprising that it released, went out of stock like during the pre-order, came back in, went out of stock the same day, came back in. I think it went out of stock a 3rd time, and I believe now it is back in stock. It is just the cutest. Okay, so here's one method of closing. I showed 2 different methods of closing, and then the other 2 cards, I just didn't close. One of them I thought about afterwards. You could put a magnet, but you'd for like the one version, a magnet would have worked. This one probably would have worked as well. But if you were going to do that, you would have wanted to put the magnet like underneath the pieces before you put them down. So I didn't do that. But in this case, I just wrapped a ribbon. Now you could wrap the ribbon the whole way around, like both sides. You could put it across the back, put a backing on or something like that. In this case, I think it goes to about here. I made it nice and long, and I put a couple of pieces of tear and tape. And sometimes I'll put the ribbon in and fold it over on itself so that it doesn't pull out as easy. And then the other one is just stuck underneath this card panel. So just a couple chunks of ribbon. It's just a way to save some ribbon. You're going to save yourself, 6 or 8 inches of ribbon. So this is the flip, flap, flop card. Okay, this was the second version, I realize now. Oh, no, this is the right one. Okay, so this is the card. So the alternate she had on here, I'll show you in the next one. Now, when I first made this card, she made hers as just a card, and I did make one of those, but that's farther down the pile. I thought, well, this would be really cute to make as like a picture book. So yes, I did pre-make this, and I did put little things on it because I thought because they're cute, right? You could just put stuff around them. So I did have the idea. My son and I went on a recent trip, and I do not like to have my picture taken. I don't really think he does either. But my mom said, take lots of pictures. I said, oh, we will. And she said, could you please make sure you're in them? So sitting in the airport, I just randomly leaned over. Oops, that's not on screen. Leaned over and took this picture. Not a good picture. Horrible angle for me. I'm just going to do this. Um, and, and this was just on day one. You can already see he's like, oh God, here we go. So then we took other pictures where we were just I said, there you go. You got one picture with us in it. See you in 3 weeks. Ha ha, very funny. So then the next picture we took, we were trying to get, I think it might have been like, it was something like this. Oh no, actually it was this one, I think. And this was we're in England, and I was so excited that there was a Tesco. So I was trying to make sure that I was in the picture, but so was the sign. So I ended up just doing this, which is, I think, funny. So that kind of started a trend. So then we started doing all these pictures where we had our heads cut off. Like it was just the tip of our heads in pictures. Or like, I used to take pictures of me all over the world, and I still do, where it's me standing with my feet somewhere and it's me taking a picture of my feet. And I know, like, this is my feet in the Atlantic Ocean. This is my feet in the Indian Ocean. This is my feet in the middle of, right? So it entertains me. So I decided I was going to make this picture book for my mom for her birthday, which is coming up. I have since made her something else, but it amused me. So I thought, I'm going to put all these pictures in. Now, I don't know, because I realize now all the pictures are just at the bottom, but the idea is, and I'll just show you a couple things. I'm not going to do the whole thing because it could be painful. So I did put a bunch of little things in, but what you'll notice, oh, darn. Okay, so sometimes it's better to plan things out. So what you'll notice is these are only secured on this half. This half is open. So I can stick my picture underneath. This is the first one, so I thought I'd start there. And slide it under, because I'm going to tape this picture down so that it doesn't matter that this isn't. Now, maybe planning out ahead of time would have been a good idea. And this is glued down, so I'm not going to pull it up, because I've got it like, this little bird is like pecking my lip, and yeah, so that's maybe not the best, but that's the starting picture. See, and if I had planned it out the right way, so then we were in England. See, here's the problem. If I use this one, I'm going to cover the part of the picture that's funny. That's the same on this one. Okay, hope I did some on the top, right? Oh, top and side. Oh, I got another bottom one there. This was another one that was, it was just like the oddest angle of picture, but I cut it down because it was so big. And these right now, I don't actually have any printed pictures. So these are just printed off on just on printer paper, just to give you an idea. I will get some actual pictures, and right now the beauty of this is you can scale it, right? So pretend this is actually the picture that's going to go here. I'm going to see if I can make this one work. But you'll notice that I can just tuck it in, because all I did was put glue dots on this end. So I can still tuck the picture all the way through if I want. Actually, I wonder what that would look like. Just a minute. I think this picture might be too wide. So then you can just kind of trim them down. But the idea was to, if you wanted to make a picture book, it almost works. And I mean, glue dots are good because you can kind of pull them up if you need to. Let's pretend I figured out a picture to go there. See, I got the bottom again. So the same thing, these are just glued on the sides. This is so it was funny too, because after a while my son started taking the pictures and sending them to me as he was doing stuff, because sometimes we weren't in the same spot, and we just started calling them the grandma pictures. This is in Switzerland at the Sound of Music gazebo that was used in the movie. I gotta do something. This is the picture I need to put something like some weird thing, because the wind was blowing my hair back and it looks like I've like half bald there. Ooh, this one might work. I have to trim it down, but this might work. So same thing with the cats. The cats are only glued on one side. Ooh, that one I glued a little farther than I wanted to. So I can tuck the picture underneath them. This was meant to be a skinny picture. But when you're picturing it, so Palace of Versailles. Oh, this one might work. Yeah. So when you're deciding to do this, maybe a little pre-planning is not a bad idea. And you can decide how big you want the pictures to be, so that you actually get the right size. I hate to cut off too much of this picture. And the other thing too, I guess, if you're I'm gonna trim just a tiny little bit. I always have this thing about cutting people's pictures or faces. Okay, I could have just measured, but no, I'll just cut it 17 times. So same idea. And so maybe plan out ahead of time which pictures are going where, and then when you go to get them printed, print them 3x3, 4x4, like whatever you need. but then we can tuck that one in because they're, and I would glue it down so it didn't fall out. But in this case, we got a little bit tucked underneath. I don't have one that fits this one, I don't think. Where'd my little bug one go? Does that one fit in here? So this is her layout, right? Her original layout. I'm just adapting it into one of the other options, which is the picture book. This is us at what's Warner Brothers Studios at the Harry Potter experience, and oh my god, that was such a good day. And this is a huge room. I can cut a bit of me off there. This is a huge room at the very end of the tour, which is an all-day tour, and we walked 7 kilometers in that building, in and around that thing. So these guys are the same. They're just glued down on one little end so things can be tucked underneath them. And it doesn't make any sense now. I didn't know when I was making this. I was just making it with this because it was cute. These animals really make no sense to my European trip. But, you get the idea. So I would put something different in this. But that was the idea. So just figure out, what pictures are going to go where. Pop them in there. I guess you could have one go sideways. And anyways, you've made yourself a picture book to torment your mother. Okay, so that was layout number 1 and idea number 1 was the picture book. This is a variation on layout number 2. That's when I got cards and envelopes everywhere. So I'm going to do it every time just because I think it's funny. I absolutely love this. This is Heirloom Boutique, and I love this style of flower that she do. Oh, so anyways, flip, flap, flop. Oh, I forgot to put it in there. I have this thing I'm going to show you on here. I'll show you it on the next one, but I have this little card I have. Pretend I'm a gift card. And on the back, it tells me what size it is. So I know if I'm actually using it in measurements. But a gift card is intended to slide in here. So that is the variation she made. So instead of making the one sheet like this, you just leave an extra inch on it so you can fold it over to have your little pocket. Now, this is the variation on the layout. The variation on the card itself is if you need a group card at work or at your church or at your whatever, where you need a place for a whole bunch of people to sign, I make these all the time. Even though I'm retired now, I still make them for where I used to work. Like group cards. Lots of times it's, wedding, sympathy, baby, somebody's leaving, and you need 50 different people to be able to sign it. So this one, I did just a bit of stamping on each of the little pages, just so it, I don't know, has some nice to it. But there's lots of room, and I tried to make it, the only place it's not 100% perfect is here, but I have enough dimensionals behind this stuff that it's fairly solid. So when you write on this side, it's not too bad, because your write on this side has a bit of a bumpy, right? But look at all the different places you can sign on this card. And generally when somebody's going away, you get them like a little gift card or something, or if they have a new baby, you can get them a gift card. Now, and actually in hindsight, I did this as a going away. I thought the adventure continues, but I realize now this would also work if you had like a little baby girl. Because yeah, they're an adventure, all right. So layout number 2. So then as I'm flip-flop flapping all the time, I had the thought, what about if I made this into a square? So I just changed it slightly. So this is a birthday card I made. You have to be, I've been making a lot of custom projects lately, and I have to be careful of when I make the project and when I give it to the person, because the person's going to see it. And I realized my plan was to post this video on Friday, and the person's not going to get it for 2 weeks after. I'd have to give it to them early. Anyways, here's one of the cards where I did put the ribbon the whole way around and tucked it under. Now, it originally was long and a big bow, but I decided I should show you the other way you can do it, where it's just 2 chunks, and then you tie this. So this is what you take off to open it. It's just a much smaller, easier bow. A lot of people don't like to tie bows. So this one I did. Moonlight Flora, I want to say. Moonlight Flora, I think is the paper. Ferns and Flora, I think is the sweet name. Yeah, I don't remember. Anyways, I love it. This is a moth. Who would think a moth could be so pretty? But this paper is just so gorgeous. So, happy birthday. And then in this case, I was just making it pretty. Just lots of pretty. I was going to put something in here, but I couldn't find what I wanted that was going to go in there. And then, ta-da! Um, and I've made 2 other custom cards for her lately, and she really likes this sentiment, so I put the sentiment in her card too. So this is the difference. On the other one, it flipped the other way, but this way, I made it flip the opposite way, so it kind of makes more like it's all a square instead of, you know, the other one flipped open this way. So this is a set. I love this sentiment. This is a very old set. So there's time in there, and I have like a little bit of room to write around it because I put a little strip of paper on it. But it's just so pretty. And her favorite color is green, so it's green. And if you really needed to, I mean, I could write on the back, I guess. I will tell you that you can put like an entire sheet of paper on the back. In this case, this was a strip. The piece that's on like the sentiment piece, I originally cut a strip of paper. It was left over from something, and I thought, oh, I'm going to put it there. But it was just a bit too thick. So I cut this tiny little strip off, which I did not waste. And then as it turned out, once I put this, so I put a piece of tear and tape down, put the ribbon over top of it so it stays in place. And then I realized that the little strip I had was the exact size to fit in the middle of the ribbon. So I put another little piece of tear and tape. I kind of folded it in half a bit over top. So it just decorates up a little bit. But you could also decorate the heck out of the insides and then just put a piece of white on the back, and you could have more room to write if you really needed it. Now, one of the things I want to show you, though, is as I was doing this, I kept going, okay, which one's this? Because this card is 4.5 by 4.5, right? Like the finish size. So when you start, you're starting with 8.5 by 4.25. So then you score it in half. Now it's 4.25 by 4.25, which I forgot to mention. Oh, this is for some reason. Usually my envelopes have a complimentary stamp on it. I'm not really sure why this envelope didn't get stamped. Did that one? Yes, it did. So this will fit in a standard envelope. It's going to be thick. Like, I mean, look at it. You try to limit how much is on the inside. I love my dimensional, so that's very hard for me to do. But, well, let's just pretend I tied this. So most of the time, if I was making this kind of card, it's because I'm going to hand it to somebody. But you could mail it. It will fit in a standard envelope. But like I said, you're just going to have to double up on postage because of how thick it is. You do have the option of taking one of our standard envelopes, opening up the sides of it, and then if you score in like a 1/2 inch, you know what? I was going to explain it that way, but this is just going to not make any sense. Let's do it this way. Take a standard envelope. I had it started, but in the end, it might not make any sense to anybody. So I'm just going to run my scissors, and I'm just putting a little pressure against the seam of the envelope. So I'm just running my scissors, because our scissors are nice and sharp, down the side of the envelope. Now I can open it up. I'm going to take these pieces of paper out, just because there's a little bit of bulk in there that we don't necessarily want. And it doesn't matter because some of this is coming off. I just find it easier to work without the bulk. Now, I don't know. We're going to fold it in. If you know better than me, then by all means. I just left the back as the long part and folded them in, and I'm going to attach them to make the envelope. If you wanted to put them on the outside, I think you could do that. If you wanted to leave the front as the long part and fold it in, I think you could do that. I don't actually know if there's a right or wrong way. I don't know if one way will work better than the other. But what I'm doing is I'm taking this, and I'm taking my scoring blade, not my cutting blade. I've done that a few too many times this week, hitting the, I have all sorts of stuff on the corner of my glass mat. So we'll just move that out of the way. So this does not have to be super precise. It's just to give you the kind of the idea. So I'm going to go 1/2 inch on that side. I ripped this a little bit by pushing too hard. Doesn't matter. I'm cutting that off anyways. And then I'm going 1/2 inch on this side. I'm hitting harder where the double part is and trying not to tear that apart, even though it really doesn't matter. So this gives me, oops, I forgot one, but I'm going to take the smaller one out. Let me show you the other part before I show you that. Okay, so then I'm going to go and I'm going to cut off the flap. So the flap is the right width. And I guess this is the point where you want to decide if you're going to keep the flap on the front or on the back. In this case, I'm just going to go with the back again because it makes sense to me. So I need to know where to stop. So this is where I want to go. I'm going to angle cut like this underneath where I want it to go, because then I know how far down to cut this. So I'm just taking one of our regular envelopes, making it into a square is basically what I'm doing. So I'm gonna eyeball on the other one and cut upside down and backwards because, you know, live on the edge. So that takes that down. Then I'm going to do the same thing here. And the only reason I'm doing this is because if not, it gets very bulky in the corners. And these are not measured by any means, as you can tell. They're just, I'm just cutting in a little miter into the corner so it folds better. Okay, so that is how. And like I said, if you wanted it to flap on the outside, I'm going to tape this securely down so that the card is not getting caught on the inside. So I'm keeping my flaps on the inside just because I think it will look cleaner. Right, and then fold it like this. And like this. And I'm going to glue it shut. Now, what I want this to come down, and this is I'm a little crooked there, aren't I? I folded this slightly crooked and it's sticking out. There we go. Now, this just on its own works. But if you wanted to round this a little bit, I found with our corner rounder, if you try to put it in it this way, it never hits the corner because this line is here. So all I did was pop this in where I can see what I'm doing, line up the corners. So I'm just lining up this point and this point, and I'm just trimming this off so that it's straight. Because if I do that, then when I put it in my corner rounder, it will round because the corner is square enough. Oops. The corner is square enough to hit. And then I have just little rounded flaps on my envelope. Now, because I want to be able to put, this one's already got it on it, so I'm going to go. Because I want to be able to put this in, and this one, it may not work as well. If the ones with the ribbon on the side or the big bow, I would leave in the regular one. But if you take, say, this one, which has no stuff on the side, right? So you want to put it in your nice little square envelope. It's a little bit bigger, but I found it was just an easier measurement this way. I want to be able to tuck this in, and I want to make sure that I'm not hitting anything. Like I'm not getting caught on this. So I put my tear and tape right to the very edge of the flap. I'm going to go right to the very edge on this one as well. So that when this is closed, this is stuck as strong as possible to this. So there's not like any little bit of excess over there for it to get stuck and catch on my card. I'm going to put this side down first, because this is one of those one and done things, and just make sure I get it lined up straight instead of going cockeyed on it. So now it's done really good. I'm just going to give that a nice little rub. So now when I open my envelope, there's no little flaps, no little anything. It will hold nice. And I will just pop my little card in and fold it over. And now I have a square card in a square envelope. Right? Super easy. Just to modify. Okay. So that's one little modification we could do. The other thing that I have, and I find super helpful, like I have a few different places. I'll just quickly grab them. So I have these for like making layers on card fronts. And I have this one. It really helped to show people, like, this is how one layer looks, and this is how one layer looks, and this is how the borders are, right? So I have these beside my desk. Super helpful. So then I started to make this card, and I realized that all my templates are rectangles. So now I have a set of, because by the time I got through this card in particular, I was tired of going, which one is that again? Which one goes with which? And I made them all in white. Sometimes it's a good idea to make them in alternating colors, but it is what it is. So this one, 4 1/4. I like having the wider frame. So this one I can, if I can't remember what size this is, I can put a template over top. So when I put this template on, you'll notice it's bigger, right? This is 4 1/8 by 4 1/8. So that is obviously not the layer of the secret C that's in there. If I wanted to make this And I actually don't remember. So that's the 4. If I wanted to recreate a bunch of these, and I can't remember what I was doing, which is usually the case. Okay, then I go into, I go until I find. So this is the size, 3 7/8 square. And I can double check to make sure, but I know. So this is the layer I used. And this would be, because the 1/8, if you do everything in quarters, you'll get this same wide 1/8 border. But I like to have a skinnier border. So this one is 3 3/4. So there's only a 1/8 difference between the two of them instead of a quarter. So this tells me this is what my front layer was, right? So then when I went to do the inside layer, I was like, okay, what size do I want here? I can tell by looking that this is the 4x4, right? But if you're not sure, or if you're trying to figure it out, or in the case of this, which was on a big sheet of paper, but I wanted this moth. So I'm pretty sure this is 3 3/4, but let me just double check. Because these ones are getting a 1/4 inch smaller each time, right? This flap is now smaller. So yes, so this is 3 3/4. So then I took my little template and I went on my paper and I went like this, and I went, okay, no, if I cut from the edge, the butterfly is going to be off to the side. I don't like that. Ooh, I like those flowers. Okay, so where do I have to cut that I can get this lined up this way? So I cut this strip at 3 3/4. I actually cut a chunk off, then cut the strip I wanted, and then I went the same thing this way and went, ooh, look at that. And right, so you can use it to help landmark. Now, the easier way to do that is, and I do have a set of them. I have this set of DSP gut, which is made on window sheet. So you can actually see through what you're doing. But I didn't have those in squares yet. But I use this just as easily to find my place to figure out where I want it to cut. And then the same thing as it gets smaller. Or the other thing when I was showing you with pictures, like if I wanted to put a picture on here, how much of a border do I want? See, I like, sorry, I'm off. I like the way this looks, right? So I need a 3x3 photo. So I could take this and use it as my 3x3. So it kind of helps. It speeds up your process, especially if you're going to be making multiples. But now that I have them for next time. So I will just get them all together. It's on the other side of my desk, so I can't do it. I didn't make every size because I think I realized that I was probably not making a lot of in-between ones, but I could make every size, and probably will, just because this will bug me now that it's not filled in. But if you get them all together like this, and then I still have an old crocodile, put a hole punch in the corner, and put one of these handy dandy binder rings in it. And now, see, these ones are alternating colors, so when you stack them on each other, it's easier to see. But and now I have a set of square templates for the next time I make my cards. And then this is easy. Once this is done with the two little pieces coming out, I can just tie a bow. So I tie this bow, and then I just zhoosh, and there's my closure. And then our final card. Getting into there's a separate video on this, because once I started playing with this thing and doing the masking, and I had just so many tips and tricks and stuff, so I made a whole different video just on the poinsettia bundle and the masking and the different techniques I did on this card. So you have to watch for that one. It's probably next week, Technique Tuesday. That's probably the next video. But in this case, I flipped. That was my homemade DSP. I flapped and I flopped. So in this one, I just lined the whole thing up, because with the other cards, the way they all fold onto each other, I thought, can I stand this up? And I haven't actually tried. So we're gonna do that live. But this one, I figured you could stand up, and you can. Even though the bottoms aren't exactly even, it does kind of stand like that. And when you stand it up, you kind of see this, which is why I made the front go together, like the inside pieces go together, because I knew when it was standing, it was going to look like this. And when it is standing, you can kind of see a little bit of the DSP peeking through. Just loved it. But yeah, I love the suite. This is a new suite that's in the July online exclusives, and some new gingham paper. I made this myself. That's still the same gingham paper, just the two different sides of it. And this paper comes in the 5-in colors, which are fantastic. I made a little teeny baby. I made small, medium, large, and teeny. Oh, I was having a blast. So anyways, all the details on that card are on a different one. So I'm going to put that one there. This one I just tied up, so I'm not going to untie it again. But let's see. So I guess the thing is they will stand. They just stand all folded up. I guess you could stand them like this. I don't know that you can necessarily... I guess it'd be kind of weird to lay it out like this all over your desk, but I guess you could. But yeah, this one will stand like this because it is kind of holding itself that way. I gotta go back and stamp that envelope. Oh, did I show you? I did stamping on this envelope too. I don't know why this one got missed. So I'll have to do that again. And then I'll just quickly give this one a tie. See, and this one I like, and I don't have a problem tying bows, but yeah, people that don't like to tie bows, this one's a little more intimidating because if you open it, you got to tie the bow to close it back up again. But I tried to make it easy. And the trick to tying a good bow, leave the pieces long. If you cut it too short, if you're trying to save ribbon and you cut it too short, you're just going to have a hard time tying your bow. So there we go. Thank you, Trisha. I have had a ton of fun with this. I know I will be making more of these. They're a blast. Flip, flap, flop, fun, fold. How's that? Happy Fun Fold Friday, everyone. Bye.